Hey everyone, and welcome back to Shifting Gears. This is part 2 of the video, so be sure to check out part 1 linked below if you haven't already. As always, I have my personal thoughts typed up in the document linked below, as well as some of the links to our guest profiles. But without further ado, let's hop back into where we left off last time. One of the most popular game modes, it seems right now, is King of the Hill. So let's throw King of the Hill and all of its variants, so Blitz, Gears 1, Gears 2, Gears 3 style King of the Hill all together.
Yeah.
I guess to start off, the big question is standing in the hill to cap, or just cap and then you can leave? What's your preference on that?
For me, it's standing in the hill because I think there was an issue with Gears 3 where you could have people cap the hill and then they set up around the hill. And I think if you are required to have at least one player in the hill, that gives the other team a chance to kind of take the hill back because at least one of your players is going to be exposed in a crappy position. So, and I thought that's how King of the Hill is supposed to work, but that's my thoughts.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I think.
No, I 100% agree. Really, Blitz is like a mad experiment that came from me and a few other people being very vocal about exactly that. Because like Halo King of the Hill has always been dependent on you have one person in the hill, and I can't tell you how many times on Old Town specifically I've grabbed Boom, I've come to the top of the map, I've tried to shoot over to that hill that would spawn kind of over there by Gorgon and all that. And so anyways, I would shoot Boom like into the hill because I just saw like a player there and they rolled out back towards Torque or something. I'd shoot Boom into hill and I would land it right in the hill and get no kills, you know? And I'm like, man, I could have tried to maybe save that game because I would have at least known I could have got a guaranteed kill there. But there's no one there because they're just all set up around it. It's still taking away points, and my teammates are just feeding. And so I agree, there should be a player in the hill if you're going to call it King of the Hill.
Yep.
All right, so we're pretty much all in agreement on that.
I just had a thought right now. What if the more people you have in the hill, the faster points you can get? I would just because like you said, like you can risk that 5 people. Then like, but what if the other team has a boom shot and they get a Quinn, just like that?
I think it's an interesting idea.
That was a custom game that they did a lot in Halo. There's a lot of crazy things you can do within their customs, which is one thing really I wish Gears had more options of and give us more fun ways to play the game.
I think we're probably going to do like an entire video dedicated to that.
I feel like there's a lot that we could have been given as a community to create a similar sort of atmosphere around our customs, because really people didn't play a lot of customs outside of just scrims, and so I definitely think it's an interesting idea. I don't think it would really work, in competitive, but I think it would be something that we could definitely throw into like a fun weekend playlist.
Yeah.
Well, another cool thing I saw recently was there's a mod for Halo 3 or Halo Online that was a unreleased Russian game. Anyways, people were on pit playing King of the Hill, and when you spawn, you're like this tall. And then when you get in the hill, you like take up like 12 feet, or well, I guess a Spartan's 7 feet. Gosh, you take up like 30 feet. You're ginormous. Like you can't even walk underneath the bridge because your character model collides with it. And it was funny because like everything you do too, it looks like you do animation slower. So like when you go to throw a grenade, you're like super slow mo to throw the nade, and then all the little tiny people are like dancing around super fast and they're hard to hit and strafe and everything. I just think there's a lot of creative utility that we could have if we were given the freedom and the options to do that as a community.
Did you guys play the Gears 4 Blitz event that they had?
I don't think I did.
I was unable to.
So essentially what it was is hill points drained really quickly and the hills rotated really quickly. So essentially each team, when the hill rotated, they got their pretty much just one push to try and see who can get that hill, and they get those points off of it. I don't know if I'd like to see that as a permanent game type. A lot of people said they would, but I had a lot of fun playing it. It seemed kind of like we keep going back to Halo, but what was it called, MVP in Halo or whatever, where it was you have to get your leader to that hill. It seemed really cool just seeing, all right, how many hills can you rack up? Like, your team needs to be the first one to dominate this hill. Once it's dominated, a new timer starts on a new hill type thing.
Interesting. So was it a random rotation too, or was it set?
No, I think it was like the set King of the Hill rotation.
Okay, so like it just moved like A, B, C every time?
Yeah. But I do think it would be interesting to have like, all right, once a team holds this hill for 10 seconds, they get a point on the board. All right, now there's going to be a new hill that spawns. You have 20 seconds to go set up before that one spawns, but you know it's going to be over in this location. I think something like that would be interesting, like an interesting play on King of the Hill.
You know, there was a game mode, if you guys played Ghost Recon Future Soldier, there was a game mode within their set of like 6 modes, because basically the way it worked was you had one mode, and there were like many objectives within each, but one of them that could occur is called a HVT, or high value target, where basically one person is the guy you have to kill, but to win that round, you have to escort him to one part of the map. And that could be cool, like if you were playing in a King of the Hill style, where it's like, hey, one guy is now designated like the guardian or whatever, or the person that you have to push into that. The hill. And if only he can cap the hill, sort of thing. And if you can push him in there, then you're gaining time. Like, I don't know, there's a lot of neat things I think we could do with it.
Yeah. God, I'm just thinking about future video on private match options discussion thing, and there's just so much we can talk about there.
Yeah, definitely. But I think it's also a slippery slope with private match options, because the problem you will see inevitably is that if you give people too much control over the options, then it'll become a thing where the competitive players will want certain changes to exist only in their style of play that will not want to be used across the board. And so, like, a good example would be, you know what, it'd be good if the guns did 110% damage rather than 100% damage. We think that would actually be the sweet spot. But then that changes up the entire game. It's almost like, you know, having 2 weapon balances. But regardless, I think it's a slippery slope. You have to be really cautious about the options you do give us as players, but I think it's in the benefit of the community for sure. But we can do a whole video on that. I'm totally down.
All right, let's move on to Guardian. We kind of talked about leaders a little bit there. Guardian, obviously, huge success in Gears 2. Gears 3 introduced leader vision, which was sort of controversial. They scaled back leader vision a lot in Gears 4. Obviously, I'm not too happy with the spawn system in Gears 4. I see what they were trying to do, but I'm not a huge fan of it. What do you guys think about Guardian?
Why are they gold?
Okay, that's probably a huge one. Come on, TC, really? You're gonna spray paint our leaders?
Yeah. I honestly haven't played Guardian a ton in Gears 4, but I think that's because of the fact of, honestly, the weapon balances. It has pushed me away from playing a lot of things that I wish I probably would have spent more time with. But I will definitely say my favorite mode in Gears 2 is Guardian. Outside of, competitively playing like Execution and whatnot, but I love playing Guardian in my downtime. It was a lot of fun. I loved being a Guardian that pushed people a ton. Like, I just hated whenever, you have one guy that would just kind of snowbird back and like, all right, you guys go protect me. Like, no, dude, I'm just going to push and kill the other Guardian in this right now. Like, I like to be that. I like to be that really aggressive Guardian player.
And that's what they kind of are helping people do with this new spawn system. So you said you haven't played it much. The spawn system now is like you spawn based on where your leader
is
on the map.
Okay.
So if your leader's more aggressive and you guys have map control, if your leader's pushing up, you guys will spawn mid-map as opposed to back at your base.
That's kind of rad.
I think it's a lot better.
TDM spawn the same sort of way.
It is way better than what they had at launch, where you spawned in your spawns and spawns never swapped or anything.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I'm getting more used to it, but at the same time, and I like the idea of having your leader as a beacon. Mm-hmm. At the same time, it still allows for a team to just camp in their spawn and just have the match drag out, and that makes sense. It really blows.
Well, I think that's more of an issue of how long you're going to keep people off respawn for, because I think the spawn system is fine. I've been playing a bit of Guardian, and there's a few times where I'll go on the middle of the map and give my team a really good position because the other team is sitting back, and they're just getting killed and killed and killed. And honestly, if the respawn timer was a little bit more delayed, then it wouldn't be too viable for their leader to just sit back and spawn. I think it starts off with a 20-second respawn delay if you die in Guardian, but correct me if I'm wrong, I think if another player dies, they just respawn when their buddy does. So I don't know. I think maybe just give everybody a hard penalty of 20 seconds, and that's probably going to provide you with a good window at some point to be able to push in. But moreover, for Guardian generally, I think it's just a great game type because it's a bit more laid back, fun, and casual, in my opinion, at least. And that's something that Gears is lacking, where, you know, I feel like most of the game types you have to be prepared to play really hard to enjoy it. And, you know, we're talking a lot about Halo here and all these great ideas for different variants of game types. You know what Gears needs is some sort of action sack where we have a bunch of different fun things to play.
That was fun.
I loved action sack.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where I'll start on Guardian first. So I didn't like the leader vision stuff that we got in Gears 3 like at all. I was like, okay, this is trash. I don't want to play this at all now. Like, it takes away from a lot of the skill it was to, you know, be aware, like your awareness of your surroundings. And I need to run right now. Like, I'm Guardian. There's 3 people chasing me. Like, we got to get out of here. You know, like I just don't think that really has a place for it in the game. Apparently, people feel differently of that.
I like the Gears 4 leader vision. It's so actually not many people know about this, but as the leader, if you bring up your overhead map, you can see not the enemy leader, but the 4 players on the other team. You can see them running around on your overhead map. So only the leader can see that.
Yeah.
It's kind of risky because you need to be in a spot where you're safe to open up your map and look at it, and you can't see the enemy leader. I kind of like that idea for leader vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it too, especially because, like, you know, it can be kind of boring. If you're going to be a good leader, your job is to stay alive, and sometimes it's boring because you have to sit back, and at least being able to look at your mini map and communicate with people gives you something to do. And like you said, it's not that overpowered. I've used it before. You're very vulnerable. And
you're the leader, and I can sit back there and say, hey, Chris, 2 people are running up the left side over here. Can you go take them out or something like that? It's you kind of can give direction as opposed to getting bored twiddling your thumbs.
You can be a leader.
You sent one of your guys to 1v2.
I don't know. I mean, I still kind of disagree, though. I disagree because of the fact that, like, I'm just used to players that are communicating a lot, you know, and when they die, they're telling me what's happening. They're telling me exactly what they're picking up, where they're pushing. And so as a leader, like, it's still my job, too, to be like, okay, I just saw 2 guys run it. Boom. I know 2 guys are headed down this lane, essentially. I need to rotate here. And then other people can confirm that, you know, through callouts. And so I know, like, not all casual players play that way. So I can understand, like, how the leader vision being able to, like, communicate those things more easily to the people that are at least hopefully going to, like, want to win the game could be really beneficial. But I don't know. I guess I just asked a lot of players, you know, to communicate with each other, and unfortunately, you know, not all people do that.
Not when you're playing with randoms online.
But yeah, I completely forgot what I was going to say in regards to something mentioned about Halo and like an action sack. But I do agree. I think, like, ultimately, if we had something more like that, that would be rad.
Yeah. Let's see. Hey, Dodger, you want to talk about dodgeball?
Best game type. What was it? 2013 when. And yours was in 2012, I think.
Yeah, Dodger and I each made threads on the, like, old Gears forums, like, describing dodgeball, saying, hey, we need this to be a mode. So when it was introduced or announced for Gears 4, both of us were extremely excited. But I love the mode right now. My biggest issue is spawning behind people. The spawn system really needs some work.
I mean, if Dodgeball had execution rules, I think it's a better version of execution. Now that I know that might, Chris, but I mean, it's just, I don't know. There's just something about it. I don't know. Just getting that 1v5, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's a 3v3 now. Just, you know, you just saved your team. And then doing it multiple times in a round.
One little, like, lever I'd like to see Coalition play around with is, so right now, if I get a kill, one of my teammates gets to start respawning. But what if it was, if I got a kill and then stayed alive for another 2 or 3 seconds after that, then my teammate got to start respawning. So that if I essentially just went in and, like, suicide, I'm going to go kill myself, but also kill someone at the same time. It doesn't actually benefit my team at all. That's something I'd like to see toyed around with. And I think a big thing that would help is think about right at the beginning of the match, if there's, like, a trade or something at the beginning of the match.
True.
If I get the first kill and then the other guy kills me, like, a half second later, he gets to respawn and I'm out. I got the first kill, but now my team's down a man.
Yeah, it's a good point. That was something that always used to get under my skin a bit. The initial trade where it would actually be better to die second, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So somebody gets in.
Yeah, that's crazy. Ultimately, I think it's probably the best new addition to the game. Excluding escalation and all that it is, but like in terms of like more core modes that we're used to seeing, I think it's like, man, that was a really good idea. And I'm really glad that you guys made it get in the game.
I don't know if they even saw our threads, but yeah, no, I'm glad that it's here. It's fantastic.
I think they had to. It was to some degree. I mean, it's the same reason things like tournament and things are in the game. Like they pay attention to some great degree, but I think ultimately for me, it's just one of those fun core casual modes that I can take a little more lightly, but I can still like go really hard in, and I can try to wipe a whole squad or get my whole team back, and then all of a sudden they're stuck in a 1v5 or whatever. Like I enjoy how it plays a whole lot.
I feel like it has that perfect balance of like it can be really intense and competitive, but at the same time there are respawns and you can play casually and you're cheering for your teammates like, oh, come on, get this kill so that I can spawn back in. Because when I play ranked, I'm pretty much playing dodgeball and like I'm communicating with my team a lot, but I still really enjoy it when I'm playing social and the dodgeball comes up and we're just chilling, having a good time.
Yeah, it's like a perfect marriage between execution and TDM for me, because you don't have to value your life so much that you're gonna have to put your controller down and find something to do for 4 or 5 minutes. But at the same time, like Dodger was saying, you do get those clutch opportunities. So I think it's an excellent mode, and probably doesn't get as much appreciation as maybe it deserves. But I'm happy it's in, and should pretty much come back.
And for like those certain execution players that just like to run in and get as many kills as possible. I mean, if you just die in the first part, it's a good likely chance that you'll come back because you're first one to respawn.
Yeah.
So,
that's true.
Update me on the respawning. Like, if I get a kill but then I die immediately, like that's still it, right? Like the round isn't gonna come back.
Yeah.
If everyone's dead.
If everyone's dead,
it's over. It doesn't matter if someone's on the timer to come
right,
back
but
in.
like if I get a kill, there's still a timer aspect to it where like, he would have come back if I would have stayed alive a little longer.
There's a specific ribbon for that too.
Yeah, it's like you were about to respawn, but the round ended.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I'm kind of on the fence about how that plays. I kind of feel like I should just be awarded with, hey, I tagged my teammate in. Like this isn't over, but unfortunately it is, just based on how.
Like instant respawn, or just allow them to respawn for
I think respawn. I think respawn instantly would be a bad thing, because you have to think of like how the spot on the map. Because if spawns are already kind of an issue and they're gonna spawn right behind people and stuff, I wouldn't want them to just appear solely because I chunked someone. Like I would still like, but the allow them to respawn. Like, okay, a kill was awarded, therefore we can't quite say this is over.
That's something they actually changed in Guardian as well. Is it used to be in Gears 2 and I think 3 as well. If you were on the clock to respawn, and
you did respawn.
And your team wiped, there would be a few seconds where no one on your team is on the map, and then you'd spawn in and have that one last chance. In Gears 4, if your whole team's dead, even if you're on the clock to respawn, the game's over.
It's a bit different with dodgeball though versus the Guardian thing there. I think honestly the reason why it's like, oh, you have to stay alive for 5 seconds is because I think it could drag on a bit more, and having them have to stay alive for 5 seconds really, in my opinion, cleans up the end of the round so the game can keep moving forward. Because imagine if there's just trades and then you got to go hunting for another guy, trade again, and rinse repeat. So I'm a fan that they actually require you to stay alive for some time.
I wouldn't mind them toying with that lever and let us play with it and see what it's like, but I think I'd agree with Chris where I like the way it is right now.
Put dodgeball in competitive.
Fix spawns, then put dodgeball in competitive.
There was a lot of talk, at the beginning of the game, but then I think ultimately everybody was like, nah, this would take forever. Like, it would just drag out. But then it's funny though, because they say it would take forever, but then like we have a game mode that takes forever.
It's like it's a best of 5, and all 5 games went to around 13. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So for 2 days, the most casual of game modes added for Gears 4, we have the last one, Arms Race. Which,
clearly the best game type in the game.
So I actually enjoy Arms Race. I loved Master at Arms and Judgment. And I think Master at Arms worked really well. I think making it to a team aspect where there's downs and stuff, it just doesn't work very well. I still enjoy it, but yeah, I don't think I should return.
I was going to say, I'll chime in on this because, okay, first of all, free-for-all needs to come back, and obviously Master of Arms was a lot of fun. There's a lot of issues that Arms Race has, even though it's supposed to be a fun, casual kind of game type. In Master at Arms, you'd have a bunch of different players at different stages, which made it really fun because there's a lot of different weapons and kind of encounters you'd come across. But then you play Arms Race and your team has a bunch of hammer bursts and you're against a bunch of snipers and it's just not fun, and the respawns, the downing and the respawns, massive issues. So, it's a good idea to try something new like that, but it didn't fit, didn't work, and it's clear they took it out.
That's actually kind of a good point you just brought up, was the fact that whenever, we get a set amount of kills, we all move to a new wave of guns. But like in Master at Arms, you didn't. You personally were, moving forward as you got kills. So like, what if there was a team mode that was like, if I just slay everything and I've got 12 kills on the board, you're still stuck with a hammer burst, but I've got a rocket officer or and so that would maybe be pretty cool. And because it's still one of those things where like, so say like Dodger and I were in a situation where he had a hammer burst and I had rockets, but like I'd still be able to trade that with him. Like, would I be able to walk up to him, offer him the gun, and then like, even though I'm the one like getting the kills, because like then it could be cool. Maybe I could like dole out weapons to my like lesser skilled teammates.
Strategic, yeah.
I
think it's worth a try.
That'd be interesting. Or
that could be. I'm
just
really
picturing like a Wingman or like Brothers to the End style one.
That would be
like
really cool.
2v2v2v2, and you guys all do that.
Once again, like this is why we need Action Stack, because clearly we have like so many ideas that would be kind of fun to try and doesn't really deserve a permanent playlist, but you throw that all in one playlist and there you go. You don't have to.
One thing I will
play Gears
that they did extremely well in Arms Race, and Epic did it really well in Master at Arms as well, is the order of the weapons is designed in a wonderful way such that like in some games you have a mode like this where if you're the team that gets like the first couple kills, you can just start blasting ahead and dominating the match. They really made it so that if you get the first few kills, you're probably going to stay ahead in the match, but you get less and less powerful, so the other team has a chance to catch up to you somewhat. Mm-hmm. The way they designed that was really well done.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, one of the few type of game types that Judgment, I think, did better than another numbered Gears. Yeah, because Master at Arms was so much better, and then you ended with Cleaver.
Cleaver.
It's so funny. It's like you run around a corner, and there's a guy with a Cleaver, and you're just like, and you don't have like, let's say you have like the marks or something, you can't do that much damage to him, and he's just like chasing after you. You can't stop because once you stop, he's just gonna swing at you.
Yeah,
you're just like running for your life.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's like some weapons within Master Arms and Arms Race that just shouldn't be there. They're literally just there because it's like we need one for this stage. Yeah. Like, well, this is just the next progression, so we're just gonna all stick you with this. And I don't know. There's just some that like I don't think are very fun to run around with on the map, or to be put in a situation where like you said, like hammer burst versus 4 guys with snipes, like. It's just really tough to kind of slay out of that situation, and it kind of snowballs. But like, you could probably condense it down, because there's obviously weapons that you get to use in like certain parts of like campaign and whatnot that should probably just be specific to that. I don't need those to like come up in a random game mode in multiplayer, and now it's deciding if I'm gonna win or lose because I've never really touched it before, or whatever.
So we've kind of hit on free for all a little bit. I think we've covered all of the past game modes, or all of the game modes in Gears 4. Let's move on. Let's talk about the past game modes from previous games that are not in Gears 4. Let's start with the big one, which is free for all. Like, are we all in agreement that free for all needs to make a return?
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't think people argue with it, but I think the reasons are important too. Like for instance, I think all the game types in Gears 4 right now, like ideally you want to be in a party of 5. I think we need some different kind of playlist party sizes. Free-for-alls, so simple. You just go in by yourself. Brothers to the End or Wingman, very nice. You have a buddy, you go into it. Very easy, very fun. So it just adds variety. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on, obviously Judgment didn't have DBNO. If free for alls to return, should DBNO be included?
I don't think so. I think it would just kind of be an unnecessarily hassle to clean up your kills, and slow it down a bit.
So
personally,
I agree. I don't think DBNO should be in there, but one thing that has kept popping into my mind is weapons are tuned and balanced for the game based on the fact that there is a DBNO. I'm wondering how much that would throw off the balance in a free for all where you can't go down.
So I definitely agree that FFA should be in the game, and I definitely agree with the fact that there's a lot of solo queue players that can't play a mode like Escalation because they don't have anybody to play with, or there's a lot of duo queues where you have people that would love to play like a Brothers to the End style mode, just 2v2s. Those are a lot of fun, and they're searching for something to play, but they're stuck where they have to get in a situation of playing a 5v5 or like everything. Yeah. And so I think like from a population standpoint, you need more modes or more hoppers with like less like required amount of players. But then when you think about like FFA and the fact that Judgment didn't have DBNO, it's one of those situations where like I was fine with it in that game, but as I think a lot, because I've played countless hours of FFAs from like Halo 2 and Halo 3, it's one of those situations where it comes down to player knowledge and skill of like what fights to pick and what fights to like just not shoot at, And so it's not benefiting me if I'm trying to Lancer or Marxa or down someone halfway across the map in FFA if I can't finish the kill. I'm just helping the other guy out in that 1v1 situation they're in. And so it's a situation where it's like, oh, hey, I helped that guy down him, but I'm not going to get rewarded for it. That's your fault.
You see, I disagree with this, because there's an opportunity to just remove down but not out. If there's downs, it's going to devolve into a shotgun fest where people are going to think, okay, it's pretty much only going to be to my benefit to go in and shotgun. And some people love that, but I think that there's lots of guns in the game and that players, if they're good with the Marxa, should be rewarded with a long-range kill when they put enough damage on somebody, and that the down is just going to be an unnecessarily frustrating thing that players have to factor into.
I think they should be awarded with a long-range kill if it is a headshot.
Well, what if they have a Lancer? They're never going to get a long-range kill if they have a Lancer or Hammerburst or what have you. And I still think they should be rewarded for it.
There's a lot of people who are just going to be playing for that down. Like, if you have a long shot, there's going to be a lot of people who are, I'm not going to risk missing this headshot. I'm just going to wait for this other dude to down the guy so that I can take it right away.
And how the Gears community is all about steal killing or kill killing.
Steal killing.
Yeah, but I mean that's also like the whole point of FFA is like you get in a situation and sometimes you get lucky and you get the kill. Other times you turn the corner and you wipe up an easy triple. That's just part of the mode. And so like I don't really mind if there's a down in the game personally. Like I might, after playing it and being like, yeah, this is a really bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, we had talked about this all day and debated, but it really comes down to
I think it's one of those situations where it's like you as the player, you're smart enough to know like, hey, I probably shouldn't shoot that guy because I'm probably not going to get an actual reward from it.
Yeah.
I should probably just get closer, and I'm not saying you have to use a shotgun because you can make anybody look stupid with a Lancer if you know how to chainsaw. Like, I mean, just to speak to Optic for a little bit, they did that in competitive play. They just had a chainsaw round and it was hilarious.
That was pretty funny.
It's still one of those things where like you have to know what fights to pick and what fights to just not. And so I don't see.
And that's only true if it's in the mode, which I just don't think it has to be. Like revives or downs exist in the game so that players can get revived by their teammates. In free for all, you don't have teammates, ergo there should be no downs.
Yeah, I'd be curious. I'd be curious to try it out both ways.
That's fair. I would.
Lean towards no DBNO, but I would be curious to see how it plays.
I think if it comes back into the game, then you just need as simply as a toggle of downs, no downs within the game mode, like in your custom game settings, and you just let the community kind of decide on it, and then you take the vocal majority of that and be like, DBNO, and so
Gears 5 beta.
Gears 5 beta. Honestly, do a few days with it, a few days without it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. On the topic of free for all, it's those solo queue players. You go in now. Say Chris and I want to play together. Wingman and Guardian were my two most played modes in Gears 2. Gears 3 comes along. I didn't really play Wingman that much. Gears 4 Wingman's not even there. There's a lot of people asking for it though. Do you guys think it's worth bringing back in?